Well, I had just been watching another video on prices in Russia. You know, there's a few different channels. Well, they do tours, do grocery stores. You know, and it's always a little confusing. You got to convert rubles to dollars. You know, it gets to be complicated, but it's always interesting. I mean, their prices are certainly reasonable, and they certainly have full shelves. So I don't think the sanctions are hurting them too much. But I happen to have some Russian coins, and I was gonna, you know, there's a funny thing. You know, these are the regular American ones here, but these are Kopeks. Now it takes 100 Kopeks to make 1 ruble, and 1 ruble is worth about, well, what is it, like 1.6 cents? You know, I mean, the conversion gets complicated. So a ruble, is a pretty small denomination. Nothing like a kopeck. I mean, you start calculating them out, your calculator rapidly runs out of zeros. Uh, but it's interesting, and I don't know how much these things would be used anymore, but they're interesting. They've got nice looking coinage. And I can't remember, that commemorates some victory or another. They make some very interesting coins. But a ruble by itself is not particularly valuable. 2015. But they do have the double-headed eagle on them. Even like the 10 ruble. Got that. A lot of brass, a lot of zinc. I think they used to have some that were made of like silver and stuff, but most of the stuff is kind of, well, it's like ours. It's kind of trash metal. And I don't think they deal with a lot of change over there at all. They maybe have, like, well, I don't know. Like I was going to say a pop machine, but my God, I think a can of pop is like, what, 58 rubles or something. Well, it'd be piled in a lot of rubles. But bills. This is 100 ruble bill. It is, I think it's 2015 too. But it commemorates when they reunified Crimea with Russia. So it's of historical significance. But this is worth, 100 rubles is worth about $1.60 at the moment. Yeah, it fluctuates. But, when you start thinking 100 rubles, then when you get down to these damn little Kopeks, I think the most valuable use you could make of them would be drill a hole in them, use them for a washer. Can't probably buy a washer that cheap. I mean, interesting method of fasting things using Kopeks. But I thought it'd be interesting just to show that. I remember when we were kids, my dad had been in the Navy and he'd been all over the world, and he brought back all these weird coins, from different countries and paper denominations. But it used to be fascinating for us kids to look through that. There's a lot of like countries where they had holes drilled in them so you could string them on a line and wear them around your neck or something. And there was a lot of them that were made out of like aluminum, stuff like that. But it was always interesting to look at. So that's why it's kind of brings me back to You know, he had a whole big coffee can full of weird denominations. But I thought it might be of interest to somebody to see what actually, you know, like I said, you know, like this is equivalent like to $1.60. So not, you know, 100 sounds like a lot, you know, to our frame of mind, but it's, you know, like $1 is really 100 pennies. This would be like a zillion Kopeks. I get a kick out of them. You know, and they're funny little, you know, because even as far as metal goes, they're much smaller than a penny. Just for sheer metal functionality. But I thought it'd be interesting.